The big reason behind tech giants laying undersea cables. Hey guys, welcome back to High Tech 10s. We are all connected thanks to the internet. Today, most of us access the internet through a wireless device, but there's still a physical link that is required to connect us to the internet. A website may be hosted on a server in Europe, and if you're visiting the website from another continent, your internet provider has almost certainly used a cable under the sea to retrieve the data. These lines are just a bit thicker than a garden hose and crisscross the ocean, zipping data at lightning speeds. The cables were placed under the sea long ago, but now tech companies want a share of this, which is what we'll be discussing in today's video. Stay tuned. The history. Today there are over 400 lines in service under the sea, stretching over 1.3 million kilometers or 800,000 miles. These cables are enough to go around the world 32 times. Data travels as pulses of light inside the cable's optical fibers before arriving at landing station, where it continues its journey over land. The first cables were placed in the 1800s. These were transatlantic telegraph cables, opening a new era in global communication. During the Cold War, an American nuclear submarine secretly listened in when the Soviets used an underwater cable to communicate between a naval base and its mainland. Where tech companies come into play. Today, modern cables carry digital data, including internet traffic, and many of these today are being funded by tech companies who now own over half of the available bandwidth. Facebook and Google are working with regional telecommunications providers to invest in a new line called Echo to connect with the US and Asia. The tech giants may share the cable, but they'll have their own designated fibers pairs within it, similar to having your own lane on a multi-lane highway. So why are tech companies laying their own cables? Earlier, they used to lease bandwidth from telecom providers like AT&T, who were the major companies in building these networks for undersea cables. Now though, they want to build their own pipes to meet surging demands for their services. By building lines themselves, they have greater control over the infrastructure. Hurricane Sandy was the wake-up call. The superstorm hit the US East Coast in 2012. The storm damaged an area that hosts a significant number of cable landing points, disrupting communication for days. Facebook and Microsoft realized it wasn't the best idea to have the cables clustered in New York and New Jersey. So they partnered with telecommunications infrastructure company Telxius to design a line further south, opting to make Virginia Beach the starting point for a new connection to Spain. Miria went operation in 2019 and provided the fastest transatlantic internet connection ever, transferring 160 terabytes of data every second, equivalent to streaming 71 million HD movies at the same time. Tech giants are choosing to fund the project entirely themselves. Google announced in June it's building a private cable called Firmina, running from the US to South America, which it says will be the longest line in the world. By building privately, Google can decide exactly where to build routes to best suit its needs. For example, it can minimize the distance between its data centers, which then reduces latency. It can connect remote parts of the world or reinforce an area with limited lines. Google has built 6 cables on its own and has funded 16 projects overall. Tech giants that have already wielded significant influence are likely to own more of the internet backbone in the future. These companies fork over hundreds of millions of dollars to build the infrastructure, which can take years. You can't see cables at the beach because they're buried below the seabed. In the deep sea, large ships lay them out over the ocean floor, sometimes 8,000 meters or 26,000 feet below, as deep as Mount Everest is high. The actual wires that carry the bits of code are merely the width of a human hair, while the cable is much thicker, consisting of layers of protection. Still, some hazards are unavoidable. In 2016, a fishing traveler is believed to have severed a cable in Africa, taking the whole of the west of African country of Mauritania offline for 2 days and impacting 9 other nations. And in 2013, authorities in Egypt accused 3 scuba divers trying to cut a cable in the Mediterranean Sea. Repairing a line can take weeks. A specially equipped ship is dispatched to the region, pulls out the cable in the right spot, makes the repair before bringing it back down. When possible, multiple lines covering the same route are laid to prevent disruptions. Besides broken cables, there are also security concerns. In 2020, Washington blocked the portion of Facebook and Google's patented cable linking to the US to Hong Kong over fears of spying because one of the other backers was a majority owned by a Chinese telecom company. Similarly, in 2018, Australia prevented the Chinese company Huawei from funding a new cable to Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands over fear China could use the technology to spy on the West, which Huawei has denied. Even if countries thwart efforts to build cables, the need for greater data capacity still exists, and satellites cannot handle the demand. SpaceX may be creating a high-speed satellite internet service. However, Starlink doesn't have enough bandwidth to operate in dense urban areas and will mainly serve rural regions. So undersea cables are still the most reliable way to transmit information to the greatest number of people over large distances. That brings us to the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.